Show host Trevor Noah and Princeton professor Ruha Benjamin suggest that segregation should be reintegrated into American schools. I repeat, this is not a drill. Segregation should be reintegrated into American schools. Says integration was not, quote unquote, the right solution. I mean, this sounds interesting at least. This piques my curiosity. I just want to, I will not, I want to listen to their words so I don't discard this only because I read a headline. This is something that I tell you. Common sense and critical thinking requires that you listen to the words, go to the actual source, and just don't stop or react on your first reaction when you read something. Noah, I would love to know if you think integration was the right solution. And the professor of Princeton, Ruha Benjamin, says, no, I don't. When you're being integrated into institutions, into a culture that is a supremacist culture, why are we being integrated into that? Okay, let's listen to this because this sounds exactly right. Up my alley is that is expression, right? Up my alley. It sounds a bit odd, but I don't know if I'm messing things up. But whatever.
I found myself wondering, and this applies to America, and then maybe it'll go to other places in a different way because.
But this already has subtitles. So I can discard mine.
Finland ties in. Do you think that integration was the right move? And now I'm separating two things because I know in America people are like, well, of course. I mean, there was racism and there was segregation, and I go, yeah, no.
You remember, right? White restrooms, color restrooms, like that was the separation, and that was the segregation that was back then, and the integration was essentially that there was, America became essentially colorblind.
Separating them. Let's separate someone being oppressed and someone not being able to get a job and someone not being able to get a bank loan. Let's take all of those, the negative things away, because I'll put myself out personally and say, I think whether we're talking about gifted kids who are anomalous, let's say, to the norm, whether we are talking about, and I mean anything that does not fit into a category, I think part of the reason Finland is able to do it is because, have you been to Finland?
It's very homogeneous.
I've been to Finland. You know who's in Finland? Finnish people. That's it.
Yeah, it's I don't know what is the point that he wants to make about Finland, because Finland is quite homogeneous, Finnish people. But he also talked about one thing that is that is quite interesting, which is people with special abilities, so with high capacity, with high IQ, in which the integration of those kids, for example, in the same classrooms of kids that have let's say the standard IQ is let's say most of the time is not the best idea. Sometimes you should have the ability to be able to kids who are special, in the sense that they are really high IQ, to be able to fast track them into their abilities, because that's how you discover really quickly geniuses like engineers or scientists, and that's something that should be done. In that case, integration. You cannot segregate any kid either if they have high capacity or if they are below capacity, if they have some learning difficulties. No. You cannot put anybody outside the same. You have to put everybody in the same classroom. It's not the same idea, because some kids have actual difficulties in learning, and they have they need a special treatment. There's a reality, and those who can fast track into being engineers at, I don't know, age 12, they absolutely should be able to do that at the same time. That is a part that I want to. That's part of a bigger conversation. I don't know if that is the point that he wants to make, but he wants to make the point about color, of course, which is not something that should be intrinsically that would distinguish people in the segregation. And it's why we can understand that differences in the speed at which we learn, our interest. For example, like I was one of the worst students in high school. Like I was bad in high school. It was bad. I barely made it through high school. I really hated it. But well, you know how it's like the way that I thought was education. But not the point. Let's continue with this.
That's it. And because they're all Finnish, there's an idea of like, no, we all head in the same direction. We all know what our actions mean. And that's a really powerful thing I've learned in communicating with other people. When I'm in a room with anyone where we start to tie together multiple things. So if I'm in a room with Black people, already there's like an implicit trust because we know what certain actions, words, and vibes mean. And then you're in a room with another African. Already. Now, even if you shout at me, I know what your shout means. The same way an Italian knows what an Italian shout means.
Yeah.
Right? I know
You haven't been shouted out by a Venezuelan properly. I see.
I'm prefacing it with a lot because it's a loaded question.
Yes.
But I would love to know if you think integration was the right solution, maybe.
I mean, my question is, I remember the 90s. You remember that I told you that in the 90s I really wanted to live in the United States. I really wanted to become an American citizen. I loved everything that was a high trust society. And I remember back in the day, I saw, on TV shows and movies and listening to music, everything was American to me. And at no point I saw any sort of that Black people were marginalized in any way. You could be a successful musician, you could be a successful NBA player, you could be a successful actor, you could be a successful entrepreneur, you could be a successful anybody in America. And I didn't even see that because I saw that anybody of any skin color is I didn't realize, I didn't even see that. I am in retrospective trying to analyze, and no, I never thought of that. I saw, for example, I could remember from back in the day, of course, Will Smith and The Fresh Prince. I love the series. I remember MC Hammer from the music industry. I remember Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan. You could be Black and extremely successful. Whitney Houston, one of the greatest singers of that time. I mean, it's and you could have, of course, very successful white people. Michael Jackson was a bit confusing to me, but I learned about vitiligo and then it stopped being confusing. It's just a joke, but it's like it wasn't that distinction back then, or at least I could say that from my maybe limited perspective, but it was a fact that in the United States in the 90s, anybody could make it. Anybody. Okay? Even an Austrian coming from Austria in the movies, with an accent and all that in the Eagle Bay. So he could even marry into the Kennedy family. Anybody could make it in the United States. So why is this discussion right now? This doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to me. I think one of the worst things that Obama could do was to make sure that there was this division again. Because again, chaos and division helps any government, any power to stay in power. Because then you don't have the social classes of the Marxist social classes, because the internet has leveled the entrepreneur field. Anybody can access to any education on YouTube. YouTube is for free, and you can go to a library and go watch YouTube videos and learn things in YouTube videos for free, and even start a company, start a drop shipping business, start anything for free. And they needed to, let's make up a new kind of a struggle. First with racism, this renewal of racism, and all the gender wars. Again, I'm speaking from an outside perspective, but even as an outsider, it's a fact that you can make it in the United States no matter who you are. It's literally no matter who you are. So we continue.
On the other side of
Yeah.
America of civil rights.
Yeah. No, I don't. And I don't think it's actually that.
She says that integration was not a good idea, that segregation should have continued.
That controversial when if you understand that segregation and integration weren't the only options. Like those are within those two options, it may seem like integration is the more progressive. Like, of course, we don't want segregation. But again, when you're being integrated into institutions, into a culture that's a supremacist culture, that's a culture that feeds off of hierarchy, that feeds off of insecurity, anxiety, why are we being integrated into that?
No, I don't think that. I think they're making up things. I think that they are certainly making up things. I really miss the 80s for many reasons. By the way, today is episode 84, and 1984 and 1985 are perhaps one of my favorite years of the 80s. And but the 90s was the rise of 16-bit video games and all that, the rise of so many cool things. And I remember all that with this sort of hope. I had this hope. I had this like everything could be possible. It's 1991. I am in Venezuela, back in Venezuela, and I am enrolled in this intensive English course because back in 1989 I literally didn't know English at all. And in 1991, I was hell bent on going to the United States, becoming an American citizen. Things didn't work out that way. I visited the United States a lot. I love many cities of the United States. Sadly, one of my favorite cities, which is San Francisco, is essentially destroyed. But I find it baffling how this people like Trevor Noah, which I can say he sounds like somebody who can hold a conversation. I've seen somebody. He's like a black Bill Maher. In the sense like Bill Maher. I am not a fan of Bill Maher, but I can know that sometimes Bill Maher say things like it is. Sometimes he can be really annoying. The same goes for Trevor Noah. You could say, oh, maybe when you disagree with them, no. Sometimes they just pretend that they don't know what they just pretend a feign insanity. They pretend to be insane, to not know. No, I always find that is bad faith. That you come in bad faith. But sadly, what we need more of is seeing the things for what they are. I mean, maybe you have suffered racism at some point. You feel that you have been unfairly treated. It can happen. I wouldn't say that there's zero racism in the United States, because I always say that we have to treat things in a case-by-case basis. And there are white supremacists in the United States. Of course there are. You can bump into white supremacists. If I bump into a white supremacist and he hears my Ricardo Montalban rich Corinthian leather accent, and he's gonna realize that I come from whatever is from the southern border downwards, and he comes from bring the guns. That's, no. It says he's gonna realize that I'm more Ricky Ricardo than any other thing. That can happen, but it's not the rule. There's not the rule. There's always going to be bad actors. There's always going to be bad people. There's always going to be people that want to separate others. There's always going to be people that want to cause division. But the thing is, how are we in any country, in this case the United States, how are we going to be stronger? United or separated? To which voices are we going to listen? To those who are hell-bent on saying that all this integration, we are integrated on this supremacist hierarchy? That is nonsense. Look back to the 90s and you will have your answer. But I would like to know what you think about this in the comments. So